Hi, this is Stan. Welcome back to part two of our making an easy piece of scenery for our slot car track. And it's not a very complex process, but if I want to show you in real time what I'm doing, the camera and clock, they do roll, and so I split this up into two episodes, so this will be part two. The little piece of display has been painted and now it's dry. Let's move on to the next step. Now for the messy part. If you thought the other part was messy, wait till you see this. All right, so now you've got a bunch of options. One option is, if you still have a hobby shop left, you can go there and get some supplies, not in the slot car area, but in the model railroad area. That's where most of your scenic materials come from. I think even at Hobby Lobby has some supplies, so when your wife is buying fabric and you're just standing around waiting, you can always check that out and pick up a few supplies. Or if you're like a super DIY guy, you can go out in the yard or along the road somewhere and get some really fine rock or soil and put it through a screen, and you might want to heat it up in the oven or microwave it or whatever, just to make sure there are no critters in there. But anyway, you've got a lot of options. Because I've done a lot of model railroading, I am going to use some crushed up foam. This is Spring Green Fine foam. I don't know what that is. This is Fine Turf Burnt Grass. Got a lot of different options here. What is this? That's Burnt Green Fine. Here's Yellow Grass. Anyway, the sky's the limit. Basically, we're going to transform this instantly. And the thing I like to try and remember is, number one, humans, we do straight lines and topiary, but nature does not. So you want to make this look very, very natural and relaxed. So we'll say in this little mounded area here, if we're going to have some trees on there, typically, unless you have, astroturf in your front yard, the grass underneath the trees is not going to be super lush and green because it doesn't get as much sun and it gets debris falling from the tree. But we want it to sort of blend from grass up to maybe a little more even browny kind of stuff in the middle, and it'll give it 3 dimensions and it will look a little bit more natural. But the thing is, just have fun with this part. Don't overthink it. The sloppier you are, the better. So if you've got some powdered materials that you're going to put on there, it's going to make a mess, but save your mess. This is all stuff that I've saved from doing those previous panels on the slot car track, and it's a mixture of stuff, and all the better. Grass doesn't always look super uniform, so we want it to look random. So let's get going. Now, Elmer's white glue, not your expensive shop glue, Elmer's white, because it dries clear. Let's proceed and make a mess. Basically, we're going to slobber white glue all over this. It's going to get on your fingers and everywhere. Just try to keep it out of your coffee. Okay, so I'm going to start with the darkest green that I have. In fact, let me just start with these leftover chunks. And this is a highly skilled technique of just sprinkling it on there. And it will transform before your very eyes. I'll throw the big chunks aside. Again, so I'm starting with the leftovers from a couple of other things, so we've been pretty efficient so far. Get that chunk out of there. Kind of shoot it in on the sides here, because I want to get it all down on the edge. And this stuff is just ground up foam, it's nothing dangerous. Now there is one thing you can do that you shouldn't, and that is, after you throw this stuff on, do not try and touch it with your finger, because what you end up is you end up pulling a whole chunk of it off and leaving a bald spot. So leave it alone. Now, just toss out a couple more little areas here. Remember to shoot it in on the edge, because you want that to go all the way to the edge. Okay, now a little lighter green here. Don't go crazy with this now, but we'll sprinkle just a little lighter green on there. Some little highlights and stuff. I kind of puffed it a little bit, blew on it just a little bit to kind of blow some of those white parts off. So a little bit lighter green. So we got two shades of green going. Any other brown? I don't think. Let me check. Well, this is something called earth. Throw some of that on. That's kind of brownish. Don't overdo it. And I'm going to throw a little bit of this yellow grass in the center. Not much. A little goes a very, very long way. There's a close-up. You can see all the variation. That's what you want. Next, we want to put just a fine mist. Now this little jar is not the best for this because it tends to squirt out a stream rather than misting a little bit, but it's what I have laying around. So we want to add some water in here and just a drop or two of alcohol or liquid soap, but just a few drops into the water. We want to add just a little bit of our white glue. So mostly water,
A little bit of glue, a tiny bit of either soap or alcohol. Shake it up. So basically like a spray glue. And now we want to hit this. See how it squirts out? This is not the best. They actually have some jars that, well, spray bottles that are especially made for this, that make a fine spray. And now, go to bed. Sleep it off until tomorrow. We want to give this thing 24 hours to dry out. All dry. Nothing really shakes off. Let's go ahead and salvage any of this that we can. But now, back to our little piece of paradise. Let's put some trees on it. Now, these are commercial type trees. I don't know if they were given to me or if I bought them, but they're all three identical. They're a little too sculptured for me, so I am going to go with my pine tree theme. And these are trees that I made, and I'm going to put a link down in the description, and I will show you how I made 3 different types of trees. It's been a pretty popular video, and I think you'll get a kick out of it. These particular pine trees use wire and your cordless drill, so it's kind of fun. But anyway, I'm going to go with our pine tree theme, and these are all trees that I made. Now you could put a little dab of glue on there, but I'm not, because this is styrofoam. I'm going to just crush it in there. And I've been using some fairly tall trees, but I think for this little display, we'll go with these fairly short ones. You just don't want all the trees identical so that it looks like a Christmas tree farm or something. And this little guy's kind of scraggly looking. He looks kind of cool. Put him in there. Like I say, if you could go ahead and glue them in, but this isn't going to get a lot of abuse. And I'm going to go strictly with my pine tree theme. There we go. Now I am going to grab a little glue. Not too much, just a little blob. So I got a little piece of mesh here with a little bit of ground cover sprinkled on it. I'm going to dip it in the glue and kind of smoosh it in down there. That'll be kind of a low-lying bush. And let's do one more down in here. Again, don't overthink this. And then just for fun, I ran out into the backyard and grabbed a little twig off one of the trees. Got a little piece of it, and let's go ahead and let's put a little dab of glue on this. We'll stick stick it in there like that. There we go. Just sort of a little branch laying in the woods. Maybe one more piece of it right here, just for fun. All right, let's take it out onto the table and see what it looks like. Well, there's our empty spot. And here's our little piece of landscape on there. And here's a 1/32 automobile, just for size reference. And we got some happy little trees here that complement the other areas that I've already done over here. Again, not too much, not overkill, but just enough to give it a little bit of a flair, little natural flair.
But, like I said before, not going to use it here in this high impact area. So I decided to put it back here and add it to the scenics I've already done.
All right, well, Kep and I are going to say so long. Thanks so much for watching. I'm going to put a couple of links down in the description. One will be for the beginning of the slot car track build, 9 different episodes. And the other is a tutorial on how I made the trees, not just here for the slot car track, but for my HO railroad layout as well. And hope you had a good time and hope you can join us right here next time. Bye-bye.